This video is from the Human Systems 1 unit, and this is on excretion. The excretory system involves our kidneys and our bladder. The purpose of excretion is to remove the nitrogenous waste, or the form of nitrogen that we need to get rid of, and it comes out in urine. The molecule that has nitrogen in it that we have to get rid of, or the mammalian form of nitrogenous waste, is urea. And urea is produced in the liver, our detoxifier of the body. The process of this happens through deamination. And this is processing proteins or amino acids. The purpose of it is to deal with the nitrogen, so it does not build up in excess in our body. The organ systems we have to do with that are the kidneys. Remember, when we look at a diagram, your left is actually the diagram's right. What we see is two sides. On each side is a kidney. These kidneys are in the middle of the back. Tubes that lead from the kidneys, they're called ureters or ureters. This leads to a urinary bladder. Any open sac in your body is called a bladder. We have a gallbladder. This one's a urinary bladder. Fish can have an air bladder. And finally, the tube that goes to the environment that carries urine is the urethra. What this has is an extensive blood supply, and that's what's in the middle of this diagram here. This blood supply is necessary because there needs to be lots of blood going through the kidneys, because the purpose of the kidneys is to filter the blood. When we look at a cross-section of a kidney, we can see three different layers. The outermost layer of a kidney is called the cortex. In the middle is the medulla, and collecting the actual urine is the pelvis. This urine then goes into the ureter, and then to the bladder, and then out to the body. What comes in to the kidney is blood that needs to be filtered, and what leaves the kidney is blood that is filtered and clean of our nitrogenous waste, urea. The functional unit of a kidney is called a nephron, and this is an image of a nephron. There are millions of nephrons in each kidney. What we see in this nephron is blood that comes in through the efferent arteriole, and there is this area, this ball of blood vessel. And then blood comes out. This ball of blood vessel, called the glomerulus, is essential to force any of the solutes or waste into the tubule. This is called forced filtration. So essentially, all of the blood plasma, or the fluid that blood cells are floating in, is forced into the nephron's tubule so that it can be dealt with. Waste removed, and ensuring that what the blood needs and the body needs comes back into the blood. What cannot go through forced filtration is blood cells. You should not be peeing blood. That is not a good idea. In the next phase, what we have now is filtrate, and filtrate is in this tubule here. In the beginning, you can see the tubule is all twisty or convoluted. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. And the convoluted tubules lead into the loop of Henle that changes width, and that helps with water balance. The loop of Henle changes width, but it also enters into the medulla area of the kidney, and that area is fairly salty. And then it continues to another convoluted section, the distal convoluted tubule. This section in yellow is where reabsorption occurs. What we're trying to get back from what was filtered are things that should not be excreted in urine. Things like glucose, we'll use that for cellular respiration. Sodium is reabsorbed because water follows, and that water is essential to make sure that we're not urinating too much and that we can keep our water balance. Kidney's primary responsibility is water balance. At the end of our path through this nephron, through our distal tubule and then out the bottom, out here is where the collecting duct is, and this will lead to the renal pelvis and then to the ureter and the bladder and out. This area is responsible for secretion. So anything that's still in the blood that really does need to be in the urine to be excreted, then there are different cells that can deal with that. Potassium is something that needs to be secreted and rebalanced. And if you've taken any drugs, that's why a urine test is an easy way to test for drugs, because any kind of drug can be secreted into the urine for removal. Now the urine is ready for elimination, the word that means removal from the body. In order to make sure the water balance is perfect, because as plasma in the forced filtration stage, lots of water went into the tubule, there needs to be an essential water balancing act occurring. This water balancing act happens with a hormone, ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. What ADH does is it increases the reabsorption of water back into the blood. This reabsorption back into the blood means that the urine that's coming out is much more concentrated. So it'll look darker yellow. It'll have less water in comparison to the amount of urea in there. There are millions of nephrons, and they are microscopic in each kidney, and this is the functional unit of the excretory system.